Very nice, Janie. Good use of pipe cleaners, Becky. Don't open it, Ralph. I'll just give you a C-. Yay!
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering In. Zoinks! I know that you can't spell ignorant without IG and the letter N, but many of you have sent probably the dumbest YouTube video review I've ever seen from any corporate video game shill company in my life. Did that make sense? And, well, I'm in my pajamas because it's 10 o'clock at night, but I don't know if some of you know this, but, you know, Sive is PewDiePie's editor, or was editor until PewDiePie left him high and dry, and the glorious one that is me brought him aboard to make sure that he could still buy his teas and crumpets or whatever that is. And since he's so far different in time zones than me, I had to basically get out of bed to do this video so he could edit it. Time zones. But thank you, Sive. I'm sure you're going to do a great job. Now, if you've been following the debacle that is Warcraft 3 Reforged, let me start by saying, for as bad as everything has gone, Blizzard is listening. They've offered a hilarious apology, but they are doing the right things. It's just so dang hard to give them credit for it when they should never have released the game in the state that it was in the first place. So a lot of people want to say, hey, you know, Blizzard's come around and they're giving everybody instant refunds and they're promising to do better. Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm happy for the people that are able to get a refund, but this never should have happened. And when we look at the Blizzard stock as of right now, it continues to plummet. If we look at the last 5 days, it's been on a relatively steady decline with a tiny reclaim back today. But over the 5 days itself, it's been down. Now, the Warcraft 3 reviews, as done by the users, on Metacritic still sit at 0.5. Now, that is the absolute worst rated game in history, passing Day One Gary's Mod or whatever it was called, which was for some probably worse. This one is legendary levels because of all of the promises made and nothing that was delivered. And in fact, when you look at what it did to the original game, that's even more hilarious. The original game basically broken in a broken state. An entire website launched, Warcraft 3 Refunded.com, which outlines everything quite well. And I believe this was a similar project to the Fallout $100 private server debacle, Fallout First or whatever they called it. And, you know, it's just legendarily bad, you know, whether it's from Blizzard owning the maps, whether you create them or not, whether all the problems that creates. But, you know, there's always gonna be a shill. Video game journalism is one of the most toxic and insidious places you'll find. There is access journalism, okay? What this means, if you're unfamiliar with the term, is a lot of these websites like IGN and Polygon, Kotaku, things like that, they rely on early access to games so they can provide content for people and then turn that into revenue. Meaning, if they were getting the games at the same time as the rest of us, they wouldn't have anything interesting to say. The reason people go to Polygon, Kotaku, IGN, GameSpot, I guess other than not knowing better, is they're going to have some sneak peeks of Cyberpunk 2077, or they're going to have some insider information. And the trade here, unofficially, is that they don't rock the boat. That's why corporate games journalism is so pathetic. Companies like IGN, so clearly not wanting to upset things, puts out a review today. In fact, the first thing I saw was a video review. But what these companies have started doing is simply reading their review, turning it into a video, kind of like someone else said. But it is currently, at the time, now Sive hopefully will pull an updated screenshot, currently at 521 upvotes to 3.7 thousand downvotes. I thought, wow, why could that be? And looking at the user score on Metacritic, you know, it's got a 59 Metascore, which is obviously very poor. The user score is at 0.5 with 26,000 reviews. Now, is Warcraft 3 Reforged a 0.5? Of course not. It's not. It's probably like a 3 or a 4. Now, that is an egregious score to have if you're Blizzard. That is an unacceptable level of delivery from a company that just quite frankly should know better. But that wouldn't stop IGN from doing the best they could to shill. So when we look at the review here, Warcraft 3 Reforged review, an uninspiring refresh of a truly great game. Let's start by, this is TJ Hafer. Unfortunately, perhaps they let a super mega fan review this as opposed to an objective source. Like I said, it's not a 0.5, but you're about to find out just how sad IGN is. Starts off, over the course of the last week, there's been a lot of gnashing of the teeth over shortcomings in Warcraft 3 Reforged's effort to freshen up an 18-year-old real-time strategy classic. Yes, a lot of gnashing of the teeth. Of course, you know, not giving the campaign overhaul, a full campaign overhaul to bring the story and location in line with Warcraft lore as it stands today. Instead, it's the exact same campaign with new models, as again, perfectly laid out by Warcraft3Refunded.com. Improved cutscenes, over 4 hours of new cutscenes with cinematic cameras, voice acting, and more. Psych! Same cutscenes, unchanged story. Player's choice, ability to choose between old and new campaigns, cinematics and user interface, F you. You'll take the old and darn well like it. The review continues. And while there are undoubtedly some cut corners and buggy menus, it's already apologizing for the game, by the way, dragging down what made the original Warcraft 3 great, mostly still stands up today. After an MMO with 7 expansions, a digital card game, and a feature film, Reign of Chaos, The Frozen Throne represent the pinnacle of Warcraft franchise in many ways. The new coat of paint, while not as impressive as expected, makes it even more enjoyable to revisit that peak. Does it, though? What struck me the most in the 7 full-length single... IGN, could you at least... This reads like a sales letter. What video game reviewer would say this? What struck me the most in the 7 full-length single-player campaigns. It's like you're trying to... Oh, God, could you be more transparent? Was how dynamic and compelling Warcraft storytelling used to be. Warcraft 3 hit before the constraints of faction-based focused PvP MMO, and its roughly 2-year expansion cycle puts Blizzard's writers in a bit of a box. But the tale of Arceus' fall, the reawakening of the Night Elves, blah, 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 blah. Yes, it's a great story. Again, this guy is reviewing Warcraft 3 and not Warcraft 3 Reforged. You shouldn't be reviewing Warcraft 3. That game already sits at a legendary 92 rating on Metacritic. It doesn't need IGN to re-review the game. You need to review Warcraft 3 Reforged as it stands alone. It's more than your typical base building game in ways that it has allowed to remain distinct and entertaining. Aside from the hero system that would lead directly to the creation of a MOBA game, of the MOBA genre, sorry, Warcraft 3 introduced a handful of other unique and cool mechanics to the mix. And by the way, and it would lead to the creation of a MOBA genre. Yeah, that's why Blizzard has taken ownership of all the maps, so that never happens again. At least if it does, they want to make sure they own it. And by demoralizing the custom map creators in the mod community out there, they've pretty much guaranteed it isn't going to happen again from Warcraft 3, because why would they try as hard? Now, he goes on to write, for a Warcraft veteran like myself, the visual upgrade here is the biggest draw aside from the nostalgia, and in that, Reforged only partially succeeds. On one hand, this is the best characters and units from the Warcraft universe have ever looked, even including the most recent updates in WoW. The visual style art is more realistic, gritty, and closer to the ground over a Blizzard cinematic that is a slightly cartoonier, more stylized version of the world we've grown accustomed to. When I really zoom in and look at the details of a peon or a death knight, it makes me wish World of Warcraft looked so good. Really? You know, if you look at let's say, Warcraft3Refunded.com, they have a wonderful video painting things side by side, so I find it hard to believe many people would agree with you.
Then I must consider this an act of treason.
Zugbug. While some people have reported running into a variety of different issues, I've been lucky enough to not run into any serious bugs so far. But the menus do feel very finicky and half-baked. You mean to tell me I can go to the Blizzard forum right now and find thousands of people complaining of in-game bugs? You, the game reviewer for IGN, happen to have no serious issues. Now, is that possible? Sure, it's possible. But it's a little curious, a little X-File-y, you know, a little do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I just, you know, it's, you know, maybe you are really lucky. The menus lag and freeze regularly, buttons aren't responsive, sometimes the map for the next mission doesn't even display correctly, and the UI elements in the post-battle summary can overlap and become unreadable. It's the least polished element of the whole affair by far. Venturing out into the excellent campaign mode. Buy this game, so Blizzard keeps giving us early access and free copies. And into the multiplayer, I didn't find it hard to find a good time though. There are some features in the original disappointingly missing, like custom campaign support and automated tournaments. So you've already talked about how the game doesn't live up to visual standards, how the menus are laggy and buggy, how there's lots of original features missing from the game. But just wait, you're about to hear his final score. You can still jump into dozens of diverse custom maps featuring everything from Lord of the Rings inspired battles to tower defense. Skirmish matchmaking is fast yet painless and did a good job of placing me with similarly skilled opponents. Of course, the UI still managed to get its own way here. I could never get the custom map browser to sort properly, forcing me to scroll down and manually look for matches with low ping. Another bug. Thing not working correctly. Verdict. Are you ready for this? I mean, are you ready? Are you ready for this? No. Sorry, I need to go to bed. Warcraft 3 is still probably my favorite Warcraft game of all time. Why are you writing this review? This is the problem. You can't let a mega fan review a game because they're just not going to be unbiased. The visual update Reforged brings to all its beloved and behated characters is all the reason I needed to want to experience it again. But the visual upgrade never happened. It was never as they described it. They never delivered what they said they would. I needed to wait, experience again. It's not perfect, and it's not everything we may have been promised, but it's still Warcraft 3. You're not reviewing Warcraft 3. This is Warcraft 3 Reforged. All right? You can't review the original game. You can't allow your love. You can't allow the features of the original game to skew your final score. But this is IGN. If I were judging it purely based on how good a remaster it is, there's not much to write home about. That's where your review should stop. All right? 2 out of 10. Isn't a good remaster? Do not buy. But taken as a whole, it's still a great game nearly 2 decades after its initial release. And the relatively minor shortcomings of the edition shouldn't stop you from returning the classic age of Azeroth for the first time. Final rating? Good. 7 out of 10. 7? Reforged is an uninspiring remaster, but Warcraft 3 itself is still a great game 2 decades later. Again, put that in your Warcraft 3 review. Warcraft 3 Reforged is a separate property to be reviewed separately and is much deserving of a much lower score, somewhere around 4. Maybe. Quick like to dislike update. 521 upvotes and refreshing. Over 3,900 downvotes. This, by the time I wake up tomorrow, is probably at 10,000 downvotes. Top comments. Pauses video, looks at dislikes, looks at score. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. Everything associated with Blizzard is now out of season. April Fool's joke, another comment says. They should have skipped this one, but now comes the backlash, ladies and gentlemen. Here comes the Warcraft 3 refunded memes. The game doesn't deserve a 0.5, sure, but reviewers like this one also need to understand that they're not reviewing Warcraft 3, but Reforged, and Reforged is definitely not a 7. IGN, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Just consume, guys. I'm here for the roasts and to save 40 bucks. I mean, the false advertising was enough for me to request a refund. Lol, the game of refunded 2020. Well, the people have spoken. IGN is still a shill, and this game is still a mess. Now, for the people who are still in the game, I sincerely hope you get yourself a good experience like they promised. But for now, we will continue to keep the pressure on Blizzard. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.